And is the clerk's budget all part of the old section?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Is the clerk's budget all part of the 01 section?
Yes, it is. It's in the general fund.
And is the county attorney in the same?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
All right, I don't see Mr. Doolittle. Oh, there he is over to the side. Okay. All right, I didn't see the agenda. Who are we doing first?
The county attorney is first.
Okay. We got Sam Temple there. And so we had the, first of all, this budget workshop, May 12, 2020. We're going to through the budget workshop on the county attorney, the county clerk's office, and the road department. So county attorney's up first. We had a preliminary meeting yesterday on all three offices and kind of got some things squared away. This is our opportunity for the commissioners were not a part of that preliminary meeting yesterday, so this will be the opportunity to ask questions and delve into it as we need to. Do you have you got Pam? Are you doing the graphics, the chart? Or Steve doing that?
Steve is going to do it.
Oh, I also, Steve, I had a message from newspaper wanting to know if the meeting was not streaming live yet. That was about 8 minutes ago. Do you know if we are?
Yeah, we started streaming shortly or right about 10 o'clock.
Okay. All right. All right, we're ready for the county attorney.
Steve? Steve, that's not the most recent sheet. I sent you sheets last night, updated.
Well, we're going to deal with this for right now and talk
Okay.
about the changes because it's hard for me to switch right now.
Okay.
The county attorney's budget is very simple, does not incorporate too many line items. And not all of the money you see in this budget is county general fund tax dollars. Some of the salaries for the county attorney and the assistant county attorneys and some of the employees are, but the biggest chunk of the money you see in there is for either child support or the crime victim advocates office. When in our preliminary meeting yesterday, we discussed a couple of changes. Like for example, the overtime budget has typically been $30,000 a year. We don't come anywhere near that amount. I think we had like $3,900 through March. So I think we can not really change anything, but certainly lower the budget a little bit, but not impact any operations. So we will send that update out to you that reflects that change. And then Pam, what else were
Well, it was on the overtime. We're actually taking it out completely. There will be no overtime for the child support office going forward.
we actually will have overtime though?
No,
We
no.
all that-
And Temple can speak to this better than I can, but she, for next year's budget, she decided to take it out because there was some complications getting approval from the state for overtime. So she felt like that she would just take that line item out.
we lost our argument for the sake.
Yes.
Okay.
Would it be helpful to you guys to hear from Temple about a quick explanation as to how that was arrived there?
Yes.
With because our office works a little different, in how our funding is, we have to get approval for everything. And approval for overtime has kind of been cut. So we just decided overall that it was easier to eliminate it altogether. And the girls have decided if they work any additional hours, they will count that as comp time, take time off as at different times throughout the week or throughout the month or the year, instead of being paid additional funds for that. It just became too much of an issue. And then with our billing, we bill to the state, and there were just lots of questions and they were rejecting things. So we made the determination that it was easier to take that completely out of our budget moving forward.
So then I guess what we're gonna do is go ahead and have all the employees this time execute retroactive last pay period, the election for comp.
We actually stopped overtime probably in February or March. And they understand that they've always understood that overtime was only based if the state had given approval. And that approval has just been revoked at this time. And the girls are fine with it. My employees have no problems with that at all.
So we may not have to do that paperwork if it's not possible to even get it.
No.
Pam, do you want us to do that anyway, so you have an election on record? The election to receive comp rather than overtime? The requirements you have to actually have that for public employees to receive comp. So I think we probably better go ahead and just have that on record.
Pam and I discussed that a little bit yesterday, and I'll get with Pam and we'll come up with some sort of written agreement or something with the girls that anytime that they work over our 37.5 hours will just be considered comp time.
Just let me know, I'll draw it up.
Okay.
I got one rough to think.
Perfect.
Are there any other questions about the county attorney's budget as you can see, well, actually, as a percentage wise, we'll show it declining a few percent.
So 178, line 178 is gonna go away. Am I understanding that right?
Yes, that is correct.
And that'll just come off the bottom line.
Yes.
Cool, we like that.
That was money reimbursed by the state, is that right? That part of the budget, was that all for the child support workers, that all that overtime?
Yes,
Okay, so that wasn't a county expense, though, that was a reimbursement.
that is correct.
And the salary increases, are they in line with what other employees will get? I know it's just 1 to 3 point.
Yes, the child support office, there is no increase built into theirs, because Temple's office is a little different. They also have to get approval on increases. So that doesn't go, starting off. And then if the state approves her request for increases, that might be something that has to be changed later. Last year, they did not approve an increase for her staff at all. So they didn't get an increase.
Okay.
The grants, they also are dictated, the salaries are dictated by the grant, so there is no increases for those staff either. The only increases are in the county attorney staff. The attorneys and their staff are have the 2.3% COLA built in.
On here, though, it has 3.3%, 3.25%.
Well, I think it's just a matter of some other changes perhaps that have happened during the year that make those percentages a little skewed. But all they have is the COLA in there.
Okay. Okay.
Well, somebody remind me what's the difference between the VOCA grant and the what do you call it, VOA grant?
VAWA, I think. I don't know, Sam, can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, the VOCA grant, or the VAWA grant is an acronym that stands for Violence Against Women Act that came down back in, I believe, the early 90s. It's a federal grant, it's administered through the state. And that allows for dedicated personnel in a prosecutor's office that are dedicated solely to prosecuting and investigating domestic violence acts. It started out obviously being, it's kind of a misnomer because those monies are actually directed toward any types of relationship, domestic related violence, not just against women, obviously, but it's the name is stuck. And then VOCA is it's the violent, I can't remember what that one stands for, but the VOCA will authorize the funding directly of dedicated victim advocates that will act in conjunction with the domestic violence prosecutors that are funded by the VAWA grant. And so those are conjunctive positions that consist at this time of one prosecutor, one full-time prosecutor, domestic violence, relationship violence, and other interpersonal violence. We have one full-time director of victims assistance, which is Peyton Skees, and she has a part-time assistant, all funded through those two grants. And they just make sure that the victims are kept in contact with, and special attention is given to related violence, things of that nature. Things that do tend to or have, I guess, is another facet that's kind of slipped between the crack like that. We have dedicated personnel, so that doesn't happen in this county.
Steve, is the county attorney's salary, is that not part of his budget? As the assistants, but doesn't have,
No, it is. Steve, can you move your screen down a little bit? They can't see the very top of it.
Does that help?
No, still cutting off Sam's line item at the top somehow.
We're starting at line 4.
There we go.
okay.
Yes.
I just was wondering if they moved that somewhere.
No, it was there.
Obviously, that's set by the state. That's good investment for the county of what we pay him from our share. Sam does a good job.
Appreciate it.
So,
Got a good staff that allows me to do it, to be honest with you. It's not me.
so Temple, is all of your 337 line 185, is all of that state reimbursed?
Yes.
I guess only expenses for the county are the county attorney, the assistants, and the secretaries. Is that right? Everything else is reimbursed?
Yes, that's right. Either through the VACA, VAWA, or the federal, what is it, A1? What's that contract called? B4?
Oh, 40.
48, yeah. Yeah, we got 3 grants that 100% reimburse all expenditures. The county goes from out of pocket initially.
So really only about a third of that is really county expense. The rest is reimbursed. That's pretty good investment for us.
Anything else on the county attorney budget?
Thank you.
All right, I believe we're good on it then. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thanks a lot. Thanks for letting us sit in, Steve.
No problem. I think we have the clerk next, Judge.
I'm going to call Renee in here with me. If y'all give me just a second.
Steve, you've emailed us her expenses, but not the revenue, right?
Renee. Yeah.
Steve, you're muted.
Yeah, I didn't hear your answer, Steve.
We did the revenue at the first budget workshop for the clerk.
It has its own number.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking through the monthly finance report for where that revenue would,
There's several line items.
Yeah, it's spread among several.
I could reorganize these numbers if y'all would let me.
You'd have to talk to DLG about that.
You go, Pam.
Are we ready to go with the appropriation side?
We got the numbers correct.
I do. So a Consistent with all the other budgets, we were telling the departments, big and small, that with the COVID crisis, to keep everything absolutely flat, don't increase anything. The clerk has done a very good job with their budget. They have stayed well within all of their line items, and we're proposing for the coming year very little change. I think when we had our pre-meeting yesterday, the only thing that we noted that was going to be tinkered with a little bit was to increase postage, and that's a reflection of what has gone on with COVID, that we're doing a lot more of our transactions by mail. So we had, as you see, we spent 10,000, a little over 10,000 through March, and Renee has ordered, I think she said yesterday, another 5,500 for the postage meter machine. So we're just about gassed that line item, and we don't really know when that's going to end. So we discussed increasing that line item by, I think we said yesterday, a couple $1,000.
Right.
And that will take care of that. And overall, that might be a good thing for the public and a good thing for us to do more transactions by mail. And then, of course, the other significant part of the clerk's budget is elections. We have an election in the current fiscal year that's going to occur in June that we're paying for, and we'll have another one in November, which will be in the next fiscal year. So this calendar year, we're hit with 2 elections. We will probably see in the current fiscal year, if you look down at that line item, 192 that describes officers per diem for election. We're probably not going to see a big hit on that in the current year budget because there won't be the individual precincts open. But probably in November, I guess nobody knows about November and how that election is going to go. But that's the budget for it.
Yeah, I think like we said yesterday, the election part of my budget's the only thing that I'm really kind of unsure about as far as the general election in November.
And that's a lot of the line items that are below the blue line. Not all of them, but that tends to be, a lot of them are in this section of the budget. The things that are above the blue line have to do with just the normal expenses of paying the employees and buying the supplies for an office of 24 people or 23 people.
Steve, I'm told that I guess it's on the live stream that they cannot see the elections total.
They should be able to now.
So any points we need to discuss, any questions about it?
Let me make sure I understand your point, Steve, that you're making on the elections. We'll have probably significant savings in this budget, but it'll be more than likely back to normal in the next budget. Is that what you were saying?
Julie?
Yeah, I mean, it may or it may not. We haven't really had much instruction yet from Frankfurt as far as what the plan is for the general election. The only thing we know for the primary, of course, is that we're only going to have the one centralized voting location. So we're not going to have all 54 precincts open. Therefore, we're not going to have to pay the precinct workers. So should be quite a bit of savings there. But the general election, like I said, we don't really know. I mean, it could be a possibility that we may have to do something similar in November to what we're doing now. That's just something that as time goes on, we'll know more about.
Right. I think we need to budget it, obviously, until we know what's going to happen, obviously. We got to budget.
I mean, it's not going to be, shouldn't be any more, of course.
So, Julia, is the cost of mailing the absentee ballot, is that just going to come out of your regular postage account? Or is there a separate?
We keep up with, the state reimburses us, but like for this election, since it's mainly going to be a mail election, the postage to mail back the ballot is, the envelopes are pre-printed with prepaid postage on it. So the only thing we're out now is for the application that we have to send out for the ballot.
So you pay to send them, the state pays to send them back.
Correct. Yeah, we have to mail the application out and pay the postage, but when they get the ballot, the state reimburses us for that.
Okay.
So do you mail an application for each voter?
We do right now. Now, the state Board of Elections is opening up this portal. It's supposed to be opened around May 22nd. If they apply online through the portal, we don't have to send an application. That's their application, is when they apply online. But if they call in or if they email, then we do have to mail them an application.
And that cost is, you're just running through your regular postage account?
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
So the online, if somebody registers online, who pays for the postage to mail the ballot out on that? The state?
Yes. We just don't have to mail out an application for a ballot if they,
Oh, okay, I understand.
they apply online. We still, of course, but yeah, the state's paying the postage for the actual ballot.
So you'll have two mailings. You mail an application. Then once you get the application, you mail a ballot out, or is there only one mailing?
Right. Unless they apply online, like I said, through this portal, but it's not, they don't have it going yet. It's not going to be till the end of May.
Oh, otherwise, it's two mailings. If I call you up, you send me an application, I send it back, then you send me a ballot. But if I apply online, you just send out the ballot.
Right. Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And like I said, we were talking earlier, the postage, we're just using a lot more in general because with this being closed, you know, we're having so much come in through the mail as far as registration renewals and handicap placards. So we're having to mail all of that out.
Is that working well for you?
Yes, it is. And I hope it makes people more aware that they can do that like in the future and not have to come down here and, you know, wait in line. But yeah, we're seeing our mail we're having a lot come in through the mail.
Good. I didn't inquire about marriage licenses. How are you doing those? Because normally they're supposed to be the bride and groom are supposed to come in together, aren't they? How do you do that without a face-to-face?
I'm doing it by appointment. Like I'm just meeting them outside and getting information back in, and yeah.
How will you, just a little off budget, I guess. How will you staff the election from June 23rd to the date we get results? So I understand they're going to announce results daily as they come in for a 7-day period. Will you just handle that out of without any?
Yeah, I mean, we're just I'm using my staff. Anything election related for the primary, I'm using my staff and the County Board of Elections, which is the Democratic and the Republican representative, myself, and the sheriff.
Are the mail-in ballots, can they be read electronically, or do you have to do those by hand?
No, we'll scan them through a scanner.
So you should have results then on election night or early the next day, shouldn't you?
Yes. Yeah. The only thing that they said that might take a little bit more time is if we have an issue, since, like I said, it mainly is going to be an absentee ballot, is if there's any kind of issue with the person's signature and we have to verify that. We've got like how many days after the election to, you know, correct an issue with the signature. That's what's going to take so much time. You know, we can start processing these mail-in ballots. I can't remember, it's the 1st of June sometime. And we have to go through the process, you know, of making sure that they've filled it out correctly, signed all the places, and we have to match up signatures.
When's the last day you can mail your ballot?
Well, I mean, we have to receive it by 6 p.m. on election day.
You have to receive it via the mail?
That, or we're going to have the state's providing us a drop-off box that will be in the lobby of the courthouse. So if someone doesn't want to mail it, they can bring it down and drop it off in the drop box.
So if somebody mails it on June 22nd, their vote won't count?
If we don't get it by 6 p.m. on election day. But of course, people are going to have the option to come in and vote in person too. That'll start up June the 8th.
I gotta go back. I thought I saw something inconsistent with that on Michael Adams' video, but
As far as what?
well, I got the impression that people could mail it up till June 23rd, and we might not know the results of the election until 4 or 5 days after election day. But
I don't think so.
well, then I'm probably wrong.
But now if someone mailed they requested, got the ballot in the mail, and you're expecting that they want to vote by mail, what happens then if they come in on the 23rd and say, I didn't get my ballot, or I decided to come in person and vote? How do you handle that?
I'm sorry if I didn't get all of that. So like you said, if they show up on election day,
Well, they requested a ballot, you sent it out, but then they show up in person, and change their mind, or didn't get the ballot. And
Okay.
vote in person.
well, we would let them vote. If we would have to check it in the computer, because when we mail someone a ballot, we have that, like we log all of that in the computer where they've requested it, the date that we sent the ballot out. And then if we receive the ballot back, then we enter that date. So if we don't have it that we received the ballot back, then they would be able to vote in person.
I do recall there being some talk about, and I don't remember how valid the assertion was, but that we would not know results likely for several days. But you believe we're going to have results election evening?
It's just going to depend on how many mail-in ballots we get. Like I said, we have to verify signatures with their voter registration card. And if there's any issues with that we have to clear up, or if we've received a lot of mail-in ballots on election day, then we'll still have to process those. So that's why they're giving us extra days after the election, is to process any mail-in ballots that we would get at the last minute.
I'm recalling where I remember Michael Adams did an interview on KET, I think last Friday night, whenever the Keiko guys were on.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't intend to watch Michael Adams. He just was on before what I watched.
Uh-huh.
And I got the impression from that interview that there was going to be, it was going to be kind of several days after the election before
Yeah,
we had.
Probably will, it definitely will be before results are certified. Because like I said, you know, I mean, you think about especially bigger counties like Jefferson and Fayette, it's going to take them a long time to process all of their mail-in ballots. And like I said, if you get a bunch in on election day, it takes a while to go through the process of verifying everything on an absentee ballot.
I guess I hadn't really thought through whether we need to, I mean, maybe there has been public information about that. If you're mailing your absentee ballot by mail, the last day to reasonably expect that your vote gets counted is by mailing it on blank day. I don't know.
Well, like I said, if they have any doubt that it might get here, if there's any way they can just bring it down and drop it off in the drop box. But if, you know, if people are going to be out of town, of course, that's not going to work. But I think people, you know, that are out of town, they're going to be anticipating that and make sure they request it soon enough, that, because that's with any election. We deal with that with any election.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity to impress upon people that it would be a good idea for them to mail or bring in before election day their ballot, because if they show up on election day, they have to come to the county courthouse. That's the only place to come, and the line may be wrapped around the parking lot 2 times. So
Right.
there'd be an opportunity to save a lot of time. Of course, they can come in and stand in line, and we'd just be glad to have them.
Well, and of course, we're going to have in-person voting open as well, June 8th through election day. So it'll start, in-person voting will start June 8th. So they'll be able to come into the office and vote anytime from that point through election day, if they choose to vote in person.
All right, what about back on the budget? Any more questions on the numbers?
Nope.
We're all done with the clerk's budget then.
Thank you.
Sounds like a yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
And on to the road department. We've got Mr. Williams here with us.
Yes, I am.
Thanks.
All right, everyone should be able to see the road department budget, and it is bigger than I can fit on one page. So there'll be, well, maybe I can be smart. Here, I should have been doing that before. That might make a little bit better sense for everyone trying to look at it. You can see it on one screen. So I'm gonna ask Randy to summarize the budget and what we discussed yesterday with the judge.
Okay. Something to keep in mind on this budget is that it does include the Milton Drive reconstruction project, and that's around $500,000. That is 100% reimbursed. So that's going to not really come out of the county's budget. We have to pay for it up front, and then they reimburse us, you know, within a month or two after that. Last year also, $500,000 was, I believe it was $500,000 was taken out of the paving budget, which is the road construction, the 311. If you looked at the 18-19 budget, it was quite a bit higher and was it 500,000 was taken out last year? Steve, do you remember?
Yeah, yes, we reduced it by 500,000 for budget reasons.
You want me to go over each line, or how do y'all want me to do this?
Just summarize the ones where we've seen significant changes are being proposed, and we'll definitely want to go through the line 713, the line that's sort of inaptly named road vehicles. It's really in equipment and project line item, but we'll go through that. And I have your Word document that has the description on it. We can talk about those. But before we do that, two issues. One, the county has traditionally taken all of its municipal road aid, county road aid, and rural secondary funds, which is called something different now, it's called flex, and put it into pavement. Last year we did a reduction, and we used some of the funding to pay for other things in the budget. So traditionally, the county would take all of that state support and pour it 100% into blacktop. So in our revenue numbers for next year, the gasoline tax dollars we're getting from the state is going to be a little over $1.4 million. So Randy, following what has been the tradition, is to take all of those funds and put them into the road construction line item for blacktopping, and that was certainly the plan and intent. Last year is to do a 1-year dip and then restore it next year. Randy has a number in his head that's just enough money to pave every road in the county every 21 years.
Every 21.
That number being 1.4 million?
Say that again.
Well, you said the number you need to do it every 21 years, that number is 1.4 million?
No, the 1.37 that's in the budget also includes a $160,000 drainage project that is going to be partially reimbursed. So the paving, if asphalt comes in at the prices expected, I would need about 1.2 million for the paving part of it.
Okay.
And then also that the number isn't constant. It's based on whatever blacktop costs, and the most significant input into the cost of blacktop is the cost of oil. So when oil spikes in cost, you see it go up rapidly in blacktop. It doesn't seem to have come down at the same rate with cheap oil, but we get a little bit. We should get a little bit more bang for our buck this year because oil's been cheap. Correct, Randy?
Correct. The bid price on asphalt last year was $79 for in place. With the oil prices right now, we are getting an asphalt adjustment, and I'm paying around $75.50 or $76.50 to around $77 a ton. But of course, we're about to put the asphalt back out for bid for this coming year, and we won't know until on in June before we know what the asphalt prices are going to be for this year.
And the other impact I'm asking Randy to do is to, like this year, Randy would traditionally do late summer, fall paving. We did our paving for this year in the spring, so it was going on now, and I'm going to ask him to do the same for next year. Related to the reasons we talked about in the first budget session is the real impact of COVID is not fully known until we start collecting those quarterly payroll taxes in July, and then in October. We're not going to know the true extent of the damage to our budget until then. So I think we need to make a strategic decision to do the paving like we are this year and wait for the bulk of it anyway to occur next spring.
Does the average road last 21 years, Randy?
I'm sorry, say that again.
The average county road, you said I had to pave them every 21 years. I mean,
At that level of funding, that's what it would come up to. It cost around $75,000 a mile to pave a road. And that's just a rough average. And we've got around 335 miles of road. So at that level of funding, then that would mean we'd be paving around every 21 years.
we're doing it more often than that now, correct or no?
No, that's
That
what we
seems
have
like a
last
long
year.
time.
We maintain last year's level of funding. We're looking at maybe once every 30 years. And as far as what's been in the past, several years ago, I really don't know about that. But since I've been in here, it is around once every 20, 25 years or so. It looks like what it's been averaging for the last few years.
Where's your drainage problem? Is it one drainage project you said?
No, I have got one on Evergreen Lane, one on Terra Verde Boulevard, and one on Palisade Circle.
They're all in Lonoke, Eddie.
Take all of those bags.
Okay. If we don't have any further questions about that, let's switch to another significant line item. Are we doing most of the projects and equipment out of this line item, Randy, 713?
The new equipment, what I'm looking at in that would be a new tractor with a boom mower, some salt spreader, storage racks. I mentioned this yesterday, but my guys here say that the most dangerous thing they think they do is taking the salt beds in and out of the back of the trucks. And I found some racks that you can attach to the salt spreaders that should make it a lot safer to take in and out. I really want to do that for the safety around here. Also looking at 3 of the back racks to go in some pickups with lights. Some radios, which I need to find out where we're going to be on the radios before I would do anything on that. And a trench box, which is keep us safe for when guys get in ditches. We need something to keep the walls from caving in on them. So that's another safety item that I wanted to add.
So it looks like, hang on. In the road vehicles, you didn't spend hardly any of the money. Is that, if I'm looking at it right?
Well, that's because some of our projects that we had in that line item are in process right now. So the skid steer that you recently approved at the fiscal court, that's under order, and we expect to have it at the end of this month. And that was approximately $90,000 plus or minus. And then were we doing some of the salt shed out of that line item? That was a different line item.
The pickup was also in that. And
I'm sorry?
A truck was also in that, and it does, I think that was the one that we went ahead and approved last night. I did have a couple more items in there. I think one of them was a blade that would go behind a tractor. But we got to looking at how much we'd actually use that, and it made more sense to really just stick with renting a grader. So I did not spend it. And I do want to make sure everyone knows that I'm going to expect to have around 350,000 left in this budget, this year's budget.
So the two vehicles that we ordered that haven't come in yet, we anticipate they will come in sometime in the
We
next.
don't, as I said last night, we don't know. As we
If-
originally were on, an 8-week plan going back to the beginning part of December.
If they do come in, what line do they get paid for out of?
Well, only one of them was for road department. That was 713. And the other one was for building inspection.
I got you.
Steve, if you would go up a couple lines to the renewals and repairs, I want to mention a couple things on that. Some of the things we're looking at doing here, that is where the salt shed that is being built right now is coming out of. That's going to be around 109,000 for that. But what I am wanting to do this coming year is replace the roofs on a couple buildings, do some wiring, do a new fence, and install some electric gates and doors for this area. I'm going to have a lot of money left over in that line, and really we'd put stuff off till spring, and with us not allowing people in the buildings and on the lot, we couldn't do the roofs this fiscal year. So I am going to have quite a bit of money left in that line there. I'm not seeing anything else I think I really need to go over. Unless y'all have some.
Randy is an exceptionally good manager and good steward of the county's resources.
Some people.
I will take this time also to remind you of this line item here. Our road workers union, their contract is expiring. Randy and Jerry Haas and I have been negotiating, I guess, since probably February on this, and we're getting down to the end. So we'll have a new contract in place, and that the budget number for that will be impacted by that negotiation. We'll be revealing those details to you at an upcoming executive session.
Steve, does the vehicle budgeting include the trucks that are being deferred till next fiscal year?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Does the vehicle budget in the road department, does that cover the cost of the two vehicles that are being deferred till next year?
So the two vehicles that we purchased in December that have not arrived, one was for the road department, the other one was for a high mileage vehicle in building inspection. The one we bought last night will be for the road department. So the two that will come in will be, if they come in this fiscal year or shortly after the 1st of July, will be to replace the one in the building inspection department for this fiscal year, and another one for building inspection that we were going to replace next year. These are a couple of high mileage, close to 200,000 mile, 15-year-old pickup trucks.
So those two vehicles are not in the road department. They're in
They are
the.
not. They are
this
not.
budget. Okay.
Yep.
Anything else on the numbers?
Thank you.
We all done then?
That's
Good
it.
job, Randy.
Thank you.
So can I ask a general question about the budget?
Of course.
Is there, when could we see kind of the working draft of it all? Of it all put together as one budget as opposed to the jigsaw puzzle?
I'll get back to you on that. I need to consult with Pam about that. Yeah, so going back to from last year, what we could do better. You didn't get the puzzle put together until slightly after, it was the weekend after Memorial Day, right before we did a budget introduction. We're gonna do better this year than that. Pam has already been piecing the jigsaw puzzle together, but as we go through these, what happens invariably every year is we present these department requests to you, then the reality sets in of, uh-oh, this doesn't match the revenue projection. And so we make some adjustments and then present that. We'll get that out to you earlier this year than we did last year. However, since we're keeping everything very flat, we should be closer to where we need to be this year than we were last year. And then, as I said at the first budget session, we're facing an unprecedented year, because when we make revenue projections, we're never 100% sure, and it's something we're closely monitoring all year long. And that's why we say, a budget is a plan. It's not a license to spend, because we're monitoring those incoming revenues all year long. Next year, next fiscal year starting July 1, that takes on a really special meaning to us because of all of the impacts we know are going to happen with COVID. So I think we're going to have to be nimble. I think we're going to have to understand now that at the end of, we're going to have these look back periods that are going to happen quarterly as we learn what the exact impact of COVID is and what the impact of our new revenues are that will start coming in October of this calendar year, or at the end of the first quarter of the next fiscal year, and make adjustments as we need to.
All right, anything else? We done?
George, spending time with y'all.
I wanted to make one clarification in case the media picks up on something. I went back and looked at the governor's order on the elections, and the order says that any ballot mailed in and postmarked by the 23rd can be counted up until the 26th. So apparently they will allow for ballots to come in after the 23rd, as long as they're received by the 26th and postmarked the 23rd. That's in the governor's order. That's obviously much different than how they normally do absentee ballots, but just in case the media listens so they don't report that.
All right, we done then? Thank you, everyone.
Need a motion to adjourn.
I make that.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning, aye.
Ah.
Opposed, no. We adjourn.